Hello, my dears. It's good to be with you today on this very special day. Special because here we are together. And welcome if you're new. I don't know how to even introduce this channel anymore. Basically, what I do is authentic artistry. I have decided. So sometimes I get to act. Sometimes that's voice acting or voice matching somebody who existed or exists. Sometimes that's writing, producing screenplays, poetry, coaching. I have a production company. I work for another production company. There's a lot of different ways that I show up in space, but the common thread is authentic artistry. Authentic expression. I've decided, because I feel like, what's the common thread? How do I even introduce myself anymore? Today, it's going to be as an actor and as a writer, because they're kind of intertwined. But I'll be answering, this was a request, an answer to a request by someone named Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. And I've got a few more videos that I'm going to record today. So if you see me later in the same outfit, that is why. Will be traveling soon, but I wanted to have some of these videos that have been working on me for a while in your sphere. So Andrew said, I was wondering if you could help me find this old YouTube video on the Amy Walker channel. I think it was deleted, but it really resonated with me when I watched it as a kid in high school. The video had Amy Walker switching accents in what seemed to be an application for an actor role, so an audition. She was essentially demonstrating her knowledge of accents around the 3 to 5 minute video. What really resonated with me though, and why I want to find it, is when she talked about her gripes trying to empathize with the character she takes on when acting, until she really understands, becomes the character, understands their background, experiences, basically their full life and motivations and rationales. Thank you for reading this pipe dream of a request for a video 6 to 8 years ago. If you do find it and feel comfortable sharing it, it would mean the world to me. I don't know what that is. I've racked my brains. I haven't gone through my 400 videos. I'm so sorry. If anyone else has an idea, cool, but I'm just gonna answer that how I would answer it today, and hopefully that helps. Basically a common thread for my creations and acting for me is I start from the inside. I work inside out. With a character, I will often meditate on who that character already exists to me. If as a writer, when I hear a character talking to me, and yes, I'm often auditory, but I'll sometimes see them. But when there's a character that's talking to me, like Janae, just one day, she just showed up. My voice was, what would you call it? I was under the weather, and I was talking around my apartment then. It was my apartment, and there was just this voice and this personality. And so I had like 10 minutes or something, 8 minutes before my next meeting. And I turned on my iPad at the time and I flipped my hair over to the side and I just started talking. Okay. So that for me is one of the pure, I think Eunice came out in a really similar way. One of the pure ways, like when there's somebody talking, I can just capture it and be just as surprised as anybody when I see what comes through. When I'm auditioning, there's somebody who, a writer and maybe even multiple writers, maybe even a producer and a whole team usually, if it's come to me as an audition, there's a whole team of people who already, to them, this character already exists. And maybe that character is from a book or was a real person. And so there's a whole, if we're gonna talk scientifically, there's a whole field of energy around who that character is or that person is. Yeah. So if it's an audition, to me, the universe has already given me permission to audition for that role. But if it's somebody who comes to me another way as a writer, I'll ask permission. I'll say, you know, if they've come in, I'll listen to what it is that they want shared, or what it is that the field of this story wants shared. And then if it's something that I'm writing and going to produce, I'll also ask, like with Inez Milholland, bless her, who was an incredible, is still an incredible inspiration. She was a suffragist in the United States, gave her 30 young years to the cause of equal rights for all, not just in voting, although she was one of the founding members of the NAACP, one of the early members, and was a pro bono lawyer, and was just working to get people off of death row who were wrongfully convicted, and working to get the vote for women and for all, among many other things. She was a war correspondent, or peace correspondent, really. So when her story came across my path to develop, I had felt a call to play her. At that time, I was around her same age that she was when she passed. But then at a certain point, you know, I just meditated too, and I asked, do you want me to play you? And what I received was yes. And so then I'll ask, what is it that you want shared? How can I help me portray all that I can of you? And so like, as I receive that, then to me, it's like a co-creation. Okay. Same thing with other roles I've played, all the way back. I think I started doing that with when I was playing Nancy in Oliver, and I would go into like a little tiny room backstage, and it was actually a shower, and I would ask, you know, I would meditate on her and ask each day what she wanted me to share, you know, and so for me, what that means is, from the inside, I'm getting voice qualities. I'm getting, you know, what if there are resources that I need to go and find, I can do that. To study. A lot of times a handwriting will come out, like when I played Jo March in Little Women. I did a lot of writing actually at this writing desk that I use still. I needed to kind of study handwritings of that time too, and what pens she might have used. And I always had ink on my fingers because I was using the dip ink pens, you know, to really feel what that was like for her. And so it can kind of come, for me, that might seem like an external thing, but for me, that's just starting to shape my instrument in ways that I can sense and hear and feel and know the pattern of their essence from inside me. And I am becoming coherent then with that internal pattern. Because for whatever reason, that role needs me and I need them, because I'm going to learn and grow through that entire experience. Whether it's an hour for a voiceover audition, or a couple of days, or some weeks, you know, if it's a theatrical, or if it's a, you know, on camera audition and then I have a couple of days, or if it's a role and I get to play her or them for a month or several months or a year or ongoing, then that's something, in my experience or in my sort of philosophy, that we both need each other. And my life journey is then tied to their journey, and the journey that I'm going to undergo through cultivating this character. Yeah. it's also part of what helps me let things go, because, you know, as actors, we audition all the time. I audition multiple times a week. And how I see it is, if the role needs me for longer than that, then I will be cast. And then I'll go on a longer portion of that journey. And if I need that role, then, you know, if that role is for me, then my life will change through experiencing as closely as possible, understanding why they made the choices they made and where they were coming from. Which is why I'm choosy. I'm really, really choosy. I turn down roles all the time if it's not something that I feel is important to bring into the world. So, I mean, and I'm talking even if it's a commercial and it's not something that I would use. My agents know that as a vegan, I'm not going to do anything meat related or dairy, you know, anything animal products, the products that come from living animals. I'm not going to do anything that is selling that. But beyond that, there are other things that just don't feel right to me, and I'm not going to put my life energy into them. Right, so part of my process is I merge who I am with that person. So a reason why I advocate for, if you're learning accents, if you're an actor or a writer or a creator in a performance capacity, if you're learning accents, part of my, like, it's not the only way, part of my process is that I learn that accent as me. When I lived in Australia, this is what I sounded like. When I speak with my Australian friends, this is what I sound like, because that was normal for me there. It's just like singing in the same key as somebody else, or singing the same song as somebody else, or just, you know, like with your mates, you're probably going to use jargon that everybody understands, you know? And so it's just something that we do. But for me, that also helps me to then, if I'm, you know, when I play Australian roles, I'm using all of my instrument as an actor and as Amy to then, you know, reshape myself into that character. But I'm not learning an accent as somebody else only, you know, just as a character, because then it gets really limited. If I have very limited time, like today or tomorrow, we need you to do a such and such accent for an audition, which does happen. Most of the time, those are accents that I've already done. But if it's something new that I need to do my best to learn in a few hours, then I have to shorten that process. But then if I would get cast as that role, I would broaden my research for that particular character, so that I can then really hone in on what are the qualities, what references can I find in that accent that are the qualities of that particular character. Yeah. Just trying to think what else. Yeah, so you were talking about that's understanding their life and motivations and rationales. So another one of the things that I love to do is journal as the character and fill in some of the things that aren't in the script, you know, some formative experiences. And I didn't journal as Nancy because she didn't write. And that I knew that she wasn't able to write. But I did talk as her, and I did meditate and listen to her. So that I could experience some of those, you know, I would just experience some of those formative experiences by sort of living through them in that regard. But yeah, because if I have to find a reason to agree with their choices. Even if it's not the choices that I would make, I need to understand why that was their choice, given what they knew at the time. In a way that I can justify wholly, because I can't be judging my character, then I'm not living it. That I'm not living the reality of that scene. So yeah, basically, people have asked, how do you cry on cue? Or why are you crying in that scene or something? And I'm like, because I'm living it. Like, what do you think acting is? For real though. For real. Maybe people don't understand that acting is experiencing. You are putting yourself, body and soul, through an experience as if you are that person undergoing everything they're going through. And since if we're making a movie about someone, we're making a movie about the 2 most important hours in their entire life, there's going to be feelings there. And because our job is to sensitize ourselves to be able to be hurt by all of those things and be in love with all of those people and, connect with and be passionate about and experience everything that they're experiencing, that we feel all that stuff. It's not a pretend. Maybe it is for some people. Maybe that's possible. It's not possible for me. And it's not what I want. It's not why I do it. I do it as an exercise in empathy. I do it to understand more what it's like to be human in so many different ways. What it's like to make very different choices for very important reasons that are outside of my lived experience as Amy. Now, there are some things that help me with that. One is I remember a lot of my past lives. So there's a lot of relatability, a lot of circumstances that I have access to that make it a lot easier for me to do some of those things and make it really interesting for me. And that's one of the reasons I think why I'm drawn to historical things, because I want there to be authenticity there. But there's so much that I haven't lived and experienced that it is to be human. And so part of how I be a more loving and empathetic human is I experience I put myself in as many different shoes and bare feet as possible because I love people and because I love life. And because I love understanding how many different ways there are to experience what we call this life. Yeah. So I guess maybe, I don't know what gripes I had about that, but it can be really tricky. Because I go all in, and I'm not talking like method or like I only stay in character. I used to need to stay in character more because it was just hard to get in and out. And it's so important to be in when you're on set, it's so important to be in when the camera rolls or when the audience is there or whatever. So it used to be a lot harder. It used to take me longer to get in. And now it kind of depends on the role. But because it's important to live it, but not be damaged by or carry what they were carrying any more than is necessary. There's a lot of internal hygiene that's a part of that process for me. There's a lot of maintenance that's a part of that process for me, where I then put away that character for that day when I'm done and I go be me. Because we are these, these bundles of energy just broadcasting things, that I've worked very hard to cultivate my worldview and my experience and the energies that come into my sphere, and I like them. So if I'm going on a deep dive with a character that has it rough, I need to be able to then be safe, and put that away. And I have a whole little process for doing that. But then, really cleaning my energy so that I can be totally there when I need to be there. And then I can put all that away and be really here and not like carry that into my life with my husband or my cats or, my family. So yeah, that's a random plethora for you. If there was something specific or if you have particular questions, feel free to, or wisdom of your own, please share in the chat. I know that this is a really special community and that everybody who comes to these videos has value to share. So if there's something that helps you, or if you have a question for me, feel free to leave it there in the chat. Much, much love. Much, much love. I do send you love every day. I really do. Really do. And when there's time between me being here or me responding to comments, it's only because sometimes I need to really focus on the awesome projects that I'm doing right now that I will, of course, share the moment I can. But I can't right now. All right. Much love. Vibes galore. Yeah, and let's just take that moment. It's okay if you have to go, but if you can, whatever peace, whatever love you're feeling in your heart right now, there's somebody who could really, really use it. So one of the things I love to do anytime I'm healing something, or at my birthday the other week, we just gathered some energy that we were feeling. We were already feeling it. We get to still enjoy it. And we sent it to everyone who could need it, because that's really real. It's really real. And maybe there are people right now receiving this loving, peaceful energy and not even knowing where it's coming from. But right now they're not alone, because you are sending them that beautiful energy. Yeah. Much, much love. We'll see you soon. Vibes.